Hello friends, the recent updates show that Bangladesh has beaten India in per capita income. The latest official data shows that the per capita income of India for the financial year 2020-21 stands at $1,947.417 thanks to the sharp contraction in the economic growth due to COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent nationwide lockdown. At the same time, we see that the per capita income of one of our neighboring countries, Bangladesh, is reported to be at $2,227 in the financial year 2020-21, over 9% jump from $2,064 in 2019-20. In this video, we will try to provide you with information on what is per capita income, how is it calculated, is India slipping behind Bangladesh a matter of concern, and what can we do to improve our economy? I am Nihal Mohammed and you are watching The Upfront. What is per capita income? The average income received per individual in a geographical area is referred to as per capita income. It's determined by dividing the country's GDP by its population. Per capita income can be used to calculate an area's total per person income and to assess the population's standard of living and quality of life. A country's per capita income is determined by dividing its national income by its population. So if 1000 apples are together owned by 10 people, we can say there are 100 apples per capita. Per capita is often used to compare the economic indicators of countries with different population sizes. The most commonly measured indicators that use per capita are gross domestic product and income. So we see that population plays a major role in estimating the per capita income of a country. We see that countries having lesser populations top the list in countries which have the highest per capita income. We see that our neighboring countries, Maldives, Bhutan and Sri Lanka also have higher per capita income compared to India, and the reason behind this is the lesser population of these countries. Normally, developed countries like the United States, Japan, Europe, etc. have high per capita income. Developing countries like India, Africa, China, etc. have low per capita income, indicating that there is a lot of growth left in these countries. Highly populated country tends to have low per capita income due to the inverse relation. India falling behind Bangladesh in per capita income was predicted by IMF back in October 2020. When the World Economic Outlook data was released by the International Monetary Fund in October last year, it had also projected Bangladesh to surpass India in terms of per capita GDP at current prices in dollar terms in 2020. That time too, it had sparked a row. The reports back then had said that a person in India earned $2,097.78 in 2019, that is financial year 2020, but the overall contraction in GDP this financial year will reduce that income to $1,876.53 according to the IMF database. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's economy is expected to grow 3.2% in its financial year 2021, which runs from July to June. While Bangladesh's per capita income in US dollar was $1,816.04 in 2019, that is financial year 2020, it is expected to surpass India's per capita income this year by $11.44 at $1,887.97. For the most part since independence, on counts of both GDP and per capita GDP, India's economy has been better than Bangladesh. In an article by Udit Mishra and Nusaiba Iqbal in the Indian Express last year, 3 reasons were pointed out for the fall of India's GDP per capita below Bangladesh. The first thing to note is that Bangladesh's economy has been clocking rapid GDP growth rates since 2004. However, this pace did not alter the relative positions of the two economies between 2004 and 2016 because India grew even faster than Bangladesh. But since 2017 onwards, India's growth rate has decelerated sharply while Bangladesh has become even faster. Secondly, over the same 15-year period, India's population grew faster, around 21%, than Bangladesh's population, that is just under 18%. The combined effect of these two factors can be seen in how the per capita GDP gap had closed considerably even before COVID-19 hit. Bangladesh's per capita GDP was merely half of India's in 2007, but this was just before the global financial crisis. It was roughly 70% of India's in 2014, and this gap closed rapidly in the last few years. Lastly, the most immediate factor was the relative impact of COVID-19 on the two economies in 2020. While India's GDP is set to reduce by 10%, Bangladesh is expected to grow by almost 4%. In other words, while India is one of the worst affected economies, Bangladesh is one of the brightest spots. It is important to note that this happened once before in 1991 when India was undergoing a severe crisis and grew by just about 1%. I would also like to remind you that India stands behind Bangladesh in Global Hunger Index, Gender Parity Rankings, World Happiness Index, Immunization and Infant Mortality. India is on the 20th position in the Happiness Index out of the 30 Asian countries, only above Afghanistan. This fall of India in per capita income, Happiness Index and many other statistics is a global shame. Many have opined that a reason behind this growth is Bangladesh's economy is such that its GDP is led by industrial sector followed by the services sector. Both these sectors create lot of jobs and are more remunerative than agriculture. India, on the other hand, has struggled to boost its industrial structure and has far too many people still dependent on agriculture. Beyond the economics, a big reason for Bangladesh's progressively faster growth rate is that, especially over the past 2 decades, it improved on several social and political metrics such as health, sanitation, financial inclusion and women's political representation. Back in October 2020, former Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian had said that the numbers are not comparable. That's because market exchange rates are not appropriate for welfare comparisons across time and countries because they may not adequately reflect domestic inflation or productivity growth. More appropriate basis is GDP at constant purchasing power parity exchange rates. This shows India ahead, and despite COVID's more adverse impact in 2020, it is likely to remain so, said Subramanian. Shekhar Gupta, chief editor of The Print, says that India needed a reality check and a dose of humility. It now needs to look within and gauge how we got here. He also added that India needs to raise questions to its leadership and Prime Minister Narendra Modi about what happened in the past 5 years. Leave aside this year as it was a different story, but we need to ask the government what happened in the last 5 years that the country lost its growth momentum to such an extent, he said, adding that COVID was only an excuse for this year. Decisions like the nationwide lockdown and demonetization are examples of a decisive government which was not going through any debate or discussion. Gupta said India has gone back to protectionism, India has gone back to weaponizing the tax agencies, and India has gone back into trade aversion, foreign trade aversion. Furthermore, if Bangladesh was growing fast, it was because it is an export powerhouse today, something India no longer is. And while Bangladesh's exports have boomed, India's exports have stalled and declined, he said. To get to per capita income levels of developed countries, India needs to grow at 8 to 9% per annum for the next 22 years. That is the kind of challenge we have in this country, said former RBI Governor C. Rangarajan back in July 2020 before the second wave of COVID-19 hit India. On another side, we need to applaud Bangladesh for this achievement from once described as a bottomless basket by US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. Today, Bangladesh is fast emerging as a bull economy, outpacing giant neighbor India in many indices of economic or human development. With India facing the second wave of COVID-19 and the subsequent lockdowns announced in various states, the situation is not expected to improve in the near future. The recent reports suggest that the unemployment rate in India have now hit a record high in the last 4 months. Mahesh Vyas said the jump in unemployment rate is directly related to the localized lockdowns imposed by many states, adding that over 70 lakh jobs were lost in April in comparison to March. India's unemployment rate, the share of labor force that is without work but available for it, rose sharply to 7.11% in the pandemic year 2020 to reach the highest level in at least 3 decades according to the International Labour Organization's Eurostat database. The fourth quarter of 2020-21 recorded a growth of 1.6% in GDP, the second quarter of positive growth after the country had entered a technical recession in the first half of the year. India's gross domestic product (GDP) contracted 7.3% in 2020-21 as per provisional national income estimates released by the National Statistical Office on Monday, marginally better than the 8% contraction in the economy projected earlier. GDP growth in 2019-20 prior to the COVID-19 pandemic was 4%. In January 2020, as the GDP growth fell to a 42-year low in terms of nominal GDP, Prime Minister Modi expressed optimism, stating, "The strong absorbent capacity of the Indian economy shows the strength of basic fundamentals of the Indian economy and its capacity to bounce back." But as analysis showed, before COVID was even declared a global pandemic, the fundamentals of the Indian economy were already quite weak. Now, what can the Indian government do to improve the per capita income of Indians? One of the major steps that the Indian government needs to take is empower the farmers, take steps to improve their produce and give liquid cash in their hands, ensuring free flow of money. Everyone must be provided with good and uniform education. Proper world-class training must be given to graduate in industrial skills and vocational skills. This can help in lowering unemployment rate also. We must get out of our Vishwaguru status and agree to the mistakes we have done and learn from smaller countries like Bangladesh and improve several social and political metrics such as health, sanitation, financial inclusion and women's political representation. Concentration on service sector and industrial sector should be increased along with the agricultural sector. India has the opportunity to create as much as $1 trillion in economic value by establishing itself as a competitive manufacturer of electronics, chemicals, textiles, auto goods and pharmaceuticals. These sectors accounted for 56% of global trade in 2018, while India only contributed to 1.5% of global exports in these areas. Greater urbanization and an increase in the manufacturing labor force would allow India's government to make this a reality. India is a country of many communities, so the government needs to stand true to its claims of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and empower communities, which in turn will empower the nation at whole. Many economists have opined that we can provide economic stability by giving cash in people's hands. This year, incomes have declined for Indian citizens, meaning private consumption has also decreased. By spending money on building and repairing roads and bridges, the government will provide citizens with greater ease and efficiency in their work and create jobs in construction. The above reforms, if implemented, will have a significant scale impact on the whole of India. It will help to improve the social and economic status of the people while increasing the quality of their lifestyle. With these reforms, India can attain a balance between agricultural and industrial growth, which in turn will automatically improve our economy and our position in various statistics. If you like the content we provide, please subscribe to the Uptrend and press the bell icon to get notification of all our updates. Thank you.